Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thanks so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Happy Saturday to you and your family. It's the weekend, right? Time to celebrate and spend all that money that you earned all week in cryptocurrency. Just kidding. Don't do that. But obviously, if you're going to buy some dips, feel free to do so. Bitcoin's on sale once again. So here's the thing with Luna Classic. We're going to take a look, of course, at the most recent bounce and kind of get an idea and perspective on key level supports as well as potential for double bottom that we're seeing here, and a handful of other reasons. I'm still particularly, I would say, more so bullish on Terra Classic in the immediate future versus it losing its support level at 28,000 and continuing lower. I think we're likely at a pretty good place here, and I'll explain why I say I think that, and obviously help you just kind of look at the numbers just abstractly, right? Because when you are trading and using technical analysis, you don't get your emotions involved. I know there's a lot of emotions involved in Terra Classic, a lot of the, what do they call them, Terra Classic lunatics. Somebody maybe correct me, I'm totally way off base, but I know that they're pretty passionate about this, and that's perfectly fine. But just make sure you don't take that emotion and apply it to your trading technique, because it never works. It might work a few times, but for the most part, your average odds of success is very low, which is where I come in. Hopefully I can help you understand that and teach that to you and help you understand yourself and to do this on your own. I have a trading academy, community, and signal group as well to allow for that to happen naturally. So feel free to consider becoming a community member. We've got over 200 active members right now, day traders, swing traders, everything in between. We're all learning and growing together, and it's a phenomenal experience. Okay, and what we're doing is we're using Bitget as our primary exchange. And the reason why is because it allows for leverage in the United States without a VPN. Phenomenal level 2 data, extremely quick selling and buying, and of course, more importantly, you're not getting taxed significantly. Like, they're very, very low fees. I think they're the lowest in the market. So highly recommend using the link in the description below to register so you can benefit from the bonus transfer. Because when you transfer funds and you use this exchange, they'll deposit USDT into your account within 5 days. So it's a really phenomenal experience. I just love them. I think they're great. And majority of our members are using that, and I'll show you some results here in a moment. So with Terra Classic, for example, first of all, I'm doing this all left-handed because my right hand's disabled for the moment. You probably already know that, but just bear with me if it looks a little funky. My lines aren't as straight as they should be. So here's what we want to do. We want to look at the daily and get perspective on where we're at first, right? Because any good trader will understand the big picture and work their way down. Don't get blindsided and blindside yourself, so to speak, by just focusing on one time frame. That's why I've particularly focused on 3 to 4 time frames and understand, generally speaking, what I'm getting into something, because you'd like to know the past, present, and the future, right? How do you anticipate the future? Understanding the past and the big picture makes more sense. So looking at the daily here, what we want to look at first is acknowledge the fact that this downtrend has bounced initially. And I say initially because just because we got 2 green candles doesn't imply it's going to continue upwards. But what does help us is that we're still above 50 on the RSI, and that's a key support level, in my personal opinion, on any chart. Okay, daily RSI, that basically tells us in the last 14 trading days, the price has still yet to come below that level. It refuses to want to let go at that point. And coincidentally, that's a Fibonacci retracement level here at 0.786, right there at 28,000. Okay, so it's no coincidence that that is the case here right now. You can also see 28,000 was a previous support level and previous resistance. Look at that. Almost exactly 28,000, 27.8, but very, very close. Again, not exact science, but we have these trend lines that are forming, and the price is kind of working itself in that. We're probably going to be range bound for a short while. That's my speculation, but I think we're going to be range bound to the upside and eventually break out. But for now, RSI at 50 is perfect. We also can see that we are starting to, I wouldn't say this is positive by any stretch, but it's not as aggressive as it should be. In other words, when you start seeing these oscillators start to increase and pick up momentum, for example, you see how it kind of continues higher. When you see that happen, it gives you that momentum to the downside or upside, depending on what direction you're heading. In this case here, it's kind of drawing dead and going slow. So to me, that doesn't tell me that there's a lot of momentum to the downside. It's just the natural ebbs and flows of trading. Because when the MACD gets kind of contracted and tightened up together with itself, it's less reliable. Okay, so I don't really use the MACD on the daily as much as the 4 hour. Let's take a look at the 4 hour in just a minute. I want to look at the moving averages first, and you can see we're trending above the 50. This is a very important factor. We don't have a 200-day set moving average yet, by the way, because This coin is less than 200 days old. But if we look at the 50-day simple moving average, we can see that it's averaging itself out now at 26,800. So just say 27. So with that coming up, that's going to help us ascend positively and allow for us to understand that we're on the right side of the tracks. We're also above the 20 right now as well, which isn't as impactful, but it is helpful. Okay, so I would say, generally speaking, we have more positive than negative on the daily. Okay, now 4 hour, we'll see. Let's quickly just check the moving averages. We're below all three, so it's kind of the inverse there in that sense. But you got to recognize these moving averages are moving on the average of 4 hour time frames, not one day. So they're going to give you different results, and they're all working as resistance levels tentatively. I want to pay attention to the 20. Breaking above that would be helpful, of course, but generally speaking, I think being up over the 200 would be the bee's knees, as they would say, right? The best, most impactful place to be. Just like Bitcoin kind of break in the 28, 29,000 range. So essentially, if we get above 32,000, or I think it's right around 32 at the 200, then it will be in a tremendously better position to allow for much further upside. Between now and then, we can expect some resistance. So just keep in mind that area right there at about 32,000, the range of 31 to 32, is going to cause some problems in regard to the price comes up. It'll probably get rejected there initially. Looking at the RSI, though, we can kind of see that we're underneath 50 on the RSI, which isn't fantastic. We've been underneath it for some time since we started this downtrend. But generally speaking, when you're under 50 on the RSI, it's going to work as a resistance. Okay, so hypothetically, 50 on the RSI is synonymous in a lot of ways with this Fibonacci retracement level of 30,000. So 30,000 even could very well be a point of contention. So if the price comes up and gets rejected at 30,000, I don't think it would be a significant problem, but it's going to allow for a higher low potentially, and then a breakout to the upside. So I would venture to guess the price is going to go like this, come up to 30,000, get rejected, try again, and do one of two things: either break to the upside or break to the downside. I know it seems completely redundant, right? Because what else can it do? It either goes up or down. That's literally how trading is. But generally speaking, that those key level resistances, you have to retest them a few times sometimes, and we only have really one test in the last 2 trading days of that 30,000 marker. So again, you can't just expect it just to shoot right through, because again, you got to keep in mind there's whales that see that as a juicy target. They're like, okay, we want to sell at 30,000 once it gets there. That's why it gets rejected the first time. But if it continues to try and they run out of Luna Classic or Terra Classic, then they can't sell anymore. That's when the buying pressure goes up, selling pressure comes down, and you see a spike because some shorts get squeezed. All right, so again, a lot of little things that factor in, but generally speaking, looking at this here, I would say it's fairly neutral in the regard of just kind of having some, I wouldn't say conflicting information, but generally speaking, there's nothing like definitive here on the 4 hours telling us it's going to just blast off. The one thing that is positive, and keep this in mind, this isn't a strong convergence by any stretch, but this is ultimately a positive sign here, because when you have the convergence, basically this is a 12-day exponential moving average, the blue line, intersecting with the 26-day exponential moving average, the orange line, in an upward fashion. Have you heard of the term golden cross before? That's essentially what it is. Okay, so that's why the 4 hour has the most impactful benefit, is to basically, when you take a long position at that point, the likelihood of it continuing in that direction is higher. You just have a greater odds of success. In my experience, just based on preferring swing trading over day trading, don't get me wrong, I day traded for years. I just don't love the stress that comes with it. The 4 hour MACD is really one of the best friends you could have. So that being said, that's absolutely a positive, but we're still under 50 on the RSI, right? So we've got this nice little convergence, this nice little bounce. And the reason why that the MACD is converging, by the way, is because we have this double bottom. We came down here to retest, and we were initially way off on the MACD. And then, of course, the price comes up, gets rejected at this resistance level of 30,000. We've already addressed that. Comes down to bounce off of 28,000 again and continue higher. Now, this is not the most perfect W pattern or double bottom, but it is absolutely irrelevant. And it's telling us that the likelihood of the price action coming below 28,000 is fairly low. Now, granted, we come down for a third, fourth, fifth retest, different story altogether. But until then, we can kind of we have to assume that the downtrend has found its bottom. That's why the double bottom is beneficial, because it's a retest, and the bears were unsuccessful a second time in a row to sell it past that point. All right, so cool. We like that. Moving on, let's go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little wordy here today. The Ichimoku Cloud, this is also a thing kind of telling us that we're not really in a position to want to take a long position, but some positive stuff's coming here. So take a look here. Conversion line's almost above, lagging span's almost free and clear price action. Conversion line is above the baseline. That's a fantastic sign that tells us we have momentum. Very synonymous in a lot of ways with the MACD convergence we saw here just recently. Furthermore, we've also have potential breaking above the cloud, and if so, then the likelihood of consolidation at this area and continue higher. I prefer to take take entry somewhere along the lines of 3 to 4 hours into being above the cloud to ensure it's not a false positive, because you can see what happens when you try to break above the cloud. You can get rejected quite easily. So bear in mind, Terra Classic could very well do that. But in the overall sense of things, everything else we've seen here so far is fairly positive and contributing factors to the likelihood of an increase versus a decrease. So to me, I think that's a great sign. So the very last thing we may want to look at, I don't think there's much here, is TD sequential. We can see and just acknowledge that we did come down to a 9 previously, came up, ramped up, came back down again to another 9, big surprise, bounced off, and now we're essentially averaging ourselves up. So again, the likelihood of further upside is greater based on those things that have happened, right? We have 2 overexhaustive states in a short amount of time. Do you really think anyone else is going to be able to have that kind of selling pressure at this point? No, they need to buy. And what happened essentially is those whales that were bears brought the price down. Now they're bulls. They're bullish, right? And that's what you want to understand. When they are bullish, we need to be able to align ourselves with them and understand that, hey, they're thinking green, not red. We want to be on the same page, okay? So again, technical analysis is fantastic in that sense because it kind of helps you get in their heads and understand what they're planning to do, because a lot of times they're just doing whatever everyone else is doing that has a lot of money. And it's an interesting thing, but a lot of these standard indicators really help us understand that. So try not to overcomplicate things with 50 million different indicators and colorful screen. There's a lot of different stuff that's beneficial, but if you stick to the tried and true ones, moving averages, relative strength index, moving average, convergence, divergence, and you're identifying those shifts in momentum, once you know what direction the price is heading and you get in, you can get out before the price turns itself around, because you're understanding how exhaustion works as well. Again, a handful of a lot of different things, honestly, but I do think that we're going to see further upside from Terra Classic. This does look like it's going to be a green weekend. So I hope that it works out favorably for all parties involved. Thank you so much for joining me here as well. Oh, and one thing I forgot to do actually, and it'd be good to wrap this up because I like to celebrate these things when it comes to people doing well in my community. And I gotta say, Crypto Capo, this guy's starting to really kill it. Again, using Bitget exchange, phenomenal exchange. And in that regard, I don't recommend 125x, but I do say that it's important that he's developing good risk tolerance. All right. Again, Amirsh with an Aave trade here. We've got Morgan doing really well. Same with Zach. And you can just kind of tell that we're all doing very well together. And sometimes having that collaboration is extremely important. So if you want to be part of something greater than just these videos, I highly recommend checking out cryptocash.tech. Go ahead and become a member. I look forward to working with you. Have over 200 active members at this time. Phenomenal experience. Love it. Absolutely. Thanks again to all my current community members for just making my life fantastic. I really deeply appreciate all your support too as well with the disability that I have here moving forward. I know I've always had a disability, but now I have a physical one as well. You deal with that, and I appreciate it. All right, that's enough. Enough nonsense. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. See you in the next one.